Hey, good evening, everyone. We're going to get started. I have a small intro and then I'll hand it over to Lena Suarez Angelino. Welcome to the Parent Webinar Series co-hosted by the Alliance of Private Special Education Schools of North Jersey and the New Jersey Association of Special Education Partnership Schools, NJASEPS for short. The Alliance is an organization of more than 30 state-approved private special education schools in northern and central New Jersey dedicated to helping parents and educators better understand and access appropriate program options in special education. Their goal is to see that parents, school administrators, teachers, and child advocates are well informed about the special education needs of and range of program options available for children, teens, and young adults with disabilities, particularly those with more complex needs. NJASEPS, formerly known as ASA, is a nonprofit organization representing New Jersey's private special education schools that provide highly specialized services to more than 10,000 infants, children, and young adults with disabilities. While its primary focus is on the needs of the students, NJASEPS also works to foster partnerships between its members, local school districts, and local communities. These collaborations not only enhance the quality of education programs, but they also ensure that students with disabilities are served in the least restrictive setting and have the greatest chance of returning students to public school settings, all while providing information and referrals to anyone seeking appropriate placement of individuals with disabilities. NJASEPS also advocates directly for individuals with disabilities and their families while prompting programs and policies that protect and enhance their well-being, especially those that impact or interfere with their education. Before introducing our presenter, I have a few housekeeping announcements regarding staying on mute, entering questions into the chat box, as well as we will have time for a Q&A at the end of the presentation. Presentations will be recorded and posted on both the Alliance website as well as the NJASEPS website under the conference workshop archive page of the Alliance website for future viewing. And at this point, we are going to also let you know about our next webinar, which is March 25th, 2026, 6:30 to 8. And the topic is the role of assessments and professionals in out-of-district placements by Laura Ciclari from the Parles Rekim law firm. And you can register for that at the same location that you registered for this presentation. Lena Suarez Angelino has a master's in her social work and licensed clinical social work and an international speaker, licensed clinical social worker professor, author, and burnout consultant for nonprofit schools and companies. Lena can provide services both in English and Spanish, both in person or online. She is the founder of the Caregiver Reset, a place where caregivers can be human first and caregiver second. Lena has been featured in over 40 publications and interviews. She's a disability advocate for her son and founder of Central Jersey Special Needs Community, an author of Anger Management Workbook for Moms, and host of the Caregiver Reset podcast. Caregiver Reset podcast. So I'd like to be able to hand it over to her. And I was going to just confirm when you guys have any questions, please put them in the chat. And at the end, I will compile all the questions and present them to her, and she'll answer those. And just as a reminder, please keep yourself on mute as we are going through the presentation.
Rachel, thank you so much.
Okay.
And
Thank you, Lena.
Thank you everyone for being here and taking the time. I know as a caregiver, right, our time is limited. And so I'm going to hope and pray that this is helpful for you and effective and something that you can take along time and time again. So thank you again so much for everyone just showing up, whether you're here live or on the replay. So you're welcomed, and let's begin. So today we're talking all about, right, resilience for caregivers, how we begin and continue to put one foot in front of the other. So before we even get into what is resilience and what does it mean if we don't do it, I want to kind of know a little bit in the chat about what helps you feel human. right? What is that one thing? For me, it's washing my hair. I find that and doing it a little bit, right? That by doing it a little bit, I mean like brushing it, right? I have sometimes naturally curly wavy hair, and so it can get knotty pretty quickly. So oftentimes when I have to check in with myself, it's how long has it been since I brushed my hair, right? So what is one of those things that helps you feel a little human? And this is for you, right? Not your child, not your loved one, for you. And so we'll give just a few seconds for people to engage. And again, if you're also multitasking, if it's dinner time, if it's bedtime, that's okay too. And so a little bit background about me. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I have my own private practice. I've written an anger management workbook for moms. But I always say, right, yes, I know it says for moms, but really it's the case studies that are about moms. Anyone can really apply these skills. So whether you're a dad, a caregiver, a helping professional, this is kind of, it can really be applied for everybody. And then my most recent adventure is that I do have a podcast called The Caregiver Reset, and it really is all about us, right? So it's about our journey and how blending really my understanding of mental health and my expertise in burnout to being able to navigate how this journey, right? So I would also love to know, I'm seeing, right? I'm seeing what helps us feel human, going to Broadway shows, reading for pleasure, baking, listening to music, showering and going to the gym, working out, going for a walk. All of these things help us feel a little bit human, right? They help us get back into our bodies when we spend so much of our day giving to others, right? And so it is so important that we check in with ourselves. And it I'm asking for you to carve out even just 5 minutes for yourselves, because I know sometimes that can be even difficult. So spending time with girlfriends, reading, again, just things that you do for you, not because it's tied to a job that you do or your caregiving role and your responsibility. It's for you. Okay. And it is so important. And if you're not doing that already, if you're not doing something for yourself, I hope that we can kind of brainstorm some ideas. Okay, I see drinking coffee. I am blessed to have freshly made espresso every morning from my partner. He ever since, listen, we now do freshly ground espresso beans. It's a game changer. So, but he's the one that wakes up earlier than me. So I am the blessed one here. Doing my nails, excellent, right? These are all great ideas. And then we're going to talk a little bit about some of these things take time, right? And what do we have not a lot of is time. So being able to find what are some of those smaller scale things that we can do that kind of help to create a big impact. So again, all just different ways that you can work with me, the things that I do in the community, and I'll share that a little bit later as well. Okay? But meet the one and only reason why I do this. I shouldn't say the only reason, but the biggest reason why is for my son Zachary. Zachary is now 7 years old. He is. I still feel like we're almost chasing diagnosis because it was like a 3-time trial to finally get an autism diagnosis. That has its own journey. Along with he is diagnosed with cerebral palsy now, but again we're told it's all the caveats. Oh well, the MRIs don't match, and the MRIs are clean. Our genetic testing panels from whole genetic testing, all of that is clean. So we're still kind of in that limbo, in that dark of really the reasons for his disabilities, but it doesn't change who he is. It doesn't change how we show up for him, but he's the reason why I do what I do. I was a social worker first, but beyond that, now I feel like I finally found the mountain. My professors, my mentors used to tell me in school, Lena, you'll move mountains one day. And like I feel like I finally found my mountain where I'm like, oh yeah, you can't you can't shut me up, right? Like I will do anything and everything for Zachary and for our community. And so he's the reason why. He's the one that has been able to teach me how I can hold grief and gratitude at the same time. And that doesn't come overnight. You may not be in that part of that journey yet, or maybe you have. And so being able to hear that and see that. And then also, he's the one that reminds me of those simple joys, those little things in life that truly matter. And, I could be so stressed out and I just like, or I drop something, right? He's notorious. If I drop something, he'll like right away follow up with a giggle. I don't even have an opportunity to register that I'm like frustrated that I dropped something. He's like, hee hee hee, he like actually tee hees. Like, it's so funny. And then we are 24/7 singing Jingle Bells. He is always in the holiday spirit. And he loves bubbles and he just loves being social. He loves being around people. So he's just such a joy. So if you have the opportunity to ever meet Zachary, I highly encourage you to come join us and participate and have fun. And I would love to hear, who are you a caregiver to? And for a lot of us, we're also in the sandwich generation where we are pulled at both directions. We are pulled in the direction of caring for an aging parent, or maybe a spouse, and then we're also caring, or a partner, and then we're also caring for someone younger than us, a child. And so I would love to hear, who are you a caregiver to? And I know I want this will probably be my last like chat question, because I know we're all multitasking. So I'm seeing, right. We're in the sandwich generation. Hi, Lauren. We're caring for our parents, our in-laws, even our children, a young adult with FXS, um, their son, 18 clients with developmental disabilities or intellectual delays. Also, we have more sandwiches, um, right? Things that I can't even pronounce, right? Um, Rett syndrome, 20 years old, elderly parents, husband with health issues, multiple conditions, adult sons. Excellent. And then mosaic is a tetrasomy, mosaicism, and complete agenus of the corpus callosum, right? That's a mouthful. And that, right, like, you're just, as a caregiver, our whole world just spins. Whether it's from an autism diagnosis to medical diagnosis to genetic diagnosis, to just general aging, to, there's we wear a lot of hats, right? And I know you can all agree with me on that, and I know that that resonates. Um, and so it's figuring out, right? It's figuring out how, again, how do we continue to put one foot in front of the other? How we can remember to breathe at the end of the day from moment to moment. So, okay. So today we're going to talk a little bit about that truth about resilience, recognizing burnout, using my signature SOS framework, and then finding strength in our community, and then ways that you can seek help, and then how you can kind of stay connected with me, and just moving forward, right? Okay. So the truth about resilience is that it is not never breaking down, always being positive, doing it alone, right? It's not saying, I got this, and not allowing help to come in. What resilience actually is being able to get back up, staying present, and letting go of a lot of those expectations that we had. Who expected to be a caregiver to someone with disabilities? I know I didn't, right? Zach is my only biological child. I am a stepmom to a 19-year-old. Also didn't expect that in my world. But I'm loving both journeys, and it's being able to let go of some of those pieces and move through that grief. And there's times where there's milestones, right? When we're reminded, right? We're reminded of their differences, and reminded of, oftentimes, when we have to do any sort of evaluations, or we're in that balance right now of trying to secure PPP for him. And we have to we're trying to get in-home supports for him as well for after school. And it's, you have to highlight constantly all the things that our loved one cannot do. And that weighs heavy, right? I don't know, it weighs heavy for me, and I'm sure it weighs heavy for you too, because we have to show proof of need. And then sometimes, right? I know I'm not alone in this, but we show proof of need, and it's, we're told by insurance companies that it's a comfort and convenience item. We're told that that's not medically necessary. And it's like, come on. All I'm asking for are for some socks for our AFOs, right? The leg braces that he wears. All I'm asking for is diapers. I didn't choose to not potty train, right? So, it's those things that feel like a huge, like if they just did XYZ, a huge weight would be lifted, right? And getting the supports, and when we don't have the supports, and sometimes I lose my temper too, and I'm not proud of it, but it's a reality. It's a reality of when we don't feel listened to, and when we have our entire community share, not our community knows. And if you ever need a hug, call me up, because I am the best hugger. I am a healing hugger. But I know, right? I understand what we're navigating. Also, I thought, being a social worker, being in the healthcare profession, that okay, I'll take a different approach. I'll be, compassionate and understanding, and knowing that the systems are overworked and underpaid. I thought I would be that breath of fresh air, like, oh great, here's a parent that actually gets it. But it didn't get him anywhere. So for the first 5 years of his life, the only thing that I have to say is that we have been blessed with school. School has been one of the places that we have not. Our district has been great in supporting him to go out of district. And that has been fantastic for him, but I know that that's not the same story for everyone. And so again, justifying those needs, justifying the reasons why we have to go out of district, or why we need these additional supports, it's exhausting. And so it's, but people who don't walk this walk, and again, this also applies for aging parents, right? Of the decision of, do I put them in, long-term care supports, or do I try and find in-home care? Do I try and find, XYZ? How do I balance work, children, everything else, and their care? And then they're also, maybe arguing with you, like, because they go in and out of awareness. And so it's a lot, right? And so even the snow days, right? I think I know I need like that nervous system reset. I need that little piece to just like, okay, let's begin. Listen, I was grateful that our school, we were on a 2-hour delay today, but I was grateful. I said, bye, Zach, you're going to school. Because it's been a lot the past couple of days. So, it's just, and I'm seeing, right, that it can make us feel resentful. It can make us feel like, oh my gosh. And so the people who are on the outside looking in see us as strong, see us as resilient, see us as capable. And at the end of the day, and the truth is, what other choice do we have? Right? Who agrees with me on that one? What other choice do we have? We can choose to stay in it, right? We can choose to. There, I've learned um that, the insurance denials, they still get to me, right? But they don't get to me to the same level of degree as they did 2, 3, 4 years ago. Um, but I still lost my mind yesterday, very recent, because, they're telling me they call and they left a voicemail, and to call the number that was left in the voicemail. And so I screenshotted them, and I said, hey, I don't see anything in my call log. I don't see a voicemail. And so then being told from somewhere else that they have to come out and do another assessment. And I said, why? Sure, but you still haven't found someone, and it's been 2+ years. Like, it's just, it's all those pieces, right? And so it's like, we just want to show up as the role that we were intended to be. So I can stay mad, I can stay hurt, I can stay, angry, I can let it depress me, right? Or I can rise above it. And being able to, and we'll talk a little bit about it in just a few minutes, but we can remember to zoom out, right? We can remember to zoom out, take that breath, take that pause, and remember what matters, right? Remember what's important. And so but it takes a lot. And so when we don't pay attention to how we are being resilient and we're just powering through, we just push through, what do you think happens? What happens is that we get burnt out, right? And so it's burnout. I'm sure we all know burnout. I'm sure we've all been burnt out. Again, no one prepared us for a pandemic. And when I was going to school to be a therapist, and so it went from school, graduation and school and high caseloads, working in community mental health, got pregnant, opened a practice, and I don't know how to just do one thing at a time. Still don't know, but I feel really good right now. Because again, I found my mountain. But so right then opened the practice. I left community mental health, started working with a group practice as well as I grew my practice, and then the pandemic hit 2 months later, and I just feel like I never stopped. I had, I was working, I feel 9 to 9, with, a toddler in tow, and I had a lot of great support. I still have a lot of great support. My mom helps us a lot, and then my partner, his dad, helps me significantly. But I'm still burnt out. I'm still feeling overwhelmed because there's just so many pieces. There's so many things that need our attention, and it always feels like it's a dumpster fire that's waiting to be put out. And so I've had different seasons of where I've felt burnt out. And so it's physical symptoms of headaches and muscle pains and fatigue. We're clenching our jaws. It's emotional, right? Those feelings of hopelessness or depression and irritability. And then that mental, we have that brain fog, the difficulty concentrating, memory loss, the lack of motivation, right? That like, how am I going to do this again? I'm a crier. I don't know if anyone else is, but I am a crier, and so when things get overwhelmed, like again, I kind of yelled at the one. I wasn't proud yesterday, but I expressed my frustrations, and then I like cried a little bit, and then I called back and I said, "I'm sorry, that wasn't fair to you, but you have to understand where I'm coming from." And I've already spoken to her before about how broken I feel that some of these systems are, that I'm just like, but I feel like I'm making momentum. I feel like I'm making it I feel that I'm making an impact because I'm not just speaking from my own experience. I'm speaking from the Facebook group that I run. I'm speaking from the parents and the caregivers that I work with, from all of you, right? Because I know I'm not alone in this experience. And so I don't know if do I just have the courage to say it in a different way? I don't know, but I know that it's hopefully making a little bit of a difference, right? Even if it's just for that next week or that next hour, but I hope that it's just making a difference in spaces that can create change. And so that's one of the biggest pieces that I hope, even with everything that I do, that's kind of the lasting impact that gets created. But we know about burnout, and so we want to know, how do we handle that? How do we continue to stay resilient without it taking a piece from ourselves? And so, um, when we're thinking about, we need simple, right? We're in the thick of it. We need simple. We need to simplify, we need to optimize, and we need to find that support. And support, someone had shared, right? Appreciate that support because they no longer have that support. And it's a huge adjustment. My mom's about to get surgery tomorrow. And so we're seeing it for this past month. We've had the bus come to our house because I needed to get into that routine of not having the support. She was still coming over, but it was like, I need to make sure that someone is home to receive him, right? To get him off of the bus. And so we're going to experience a shift. And so we're being able to understand and navigate our schedules, excuse me, in a different way. And so we're going to get a taste almost of a little bit of what that support doesn't what it looks like without having that support, and finding other supports too, because we still at the end of the day can't do this alone, or we can't do it alone long term, right? Because then we suffer. We lose a piece of ourselves. So going back and reminding ourselves of that question I asked at the beginning of what helps us feel human, we have to find those things. Okay. And so we'll break this down a little bit more, and let me know if you have any questions so far. But We simplify. We learn how to bring ourselves back to the basics. We remember to zoom out because, again, it can be so easy to get caught in the day-to-day stressors and feel overwhelmed and stressed. I keep following up in my phone calls, and I'm not, listen, I am a type B person. um, and I don't know, I need to definitely be a little bit more organized because I recognize that all of these moving parts in our caregiver world needs its own project manager system and tool, right? I know from doctor's appointments to medications to therapy schedules to what we should be implementing at home, to everything under the sun. And that's just the caregiver side of it, let alone all the household chores and work responsibilities. Like it's just so overwhelming. So when we're so zoomed in, we feel like everywhere we turn, we don't have space to breathe. And so we have to remember, we have to pause, we have to take that step back. We have to breathe and let go of those extras. Take a look at everything that you have on your to-do list. I've had to write them on like a big piece of paper because then it doesn't feel as overwhelming because I'm like running out of room on an 8 by 10. I also write kind of big, but it just helps to like see it all in a grand scheme to really be like, okay, nope, these are secondary, and you'll see that there's a lot that really they're more of the wants, or they feel like they're just non-essential when we strip everything away. And so bringing ourselves back to that basics. And it's when I used to when I was opening up a couple different like organizations and things again in 21, while as I'm in 2021, as I'm like trying to climb out of burnout from just one-on-one work in private practice, I a lot of the business coaches and consultants would say like, find your top three, and pick your top three and do your top three every day. Well, I was trying to like do a top three, forgetting that I'm also a mom and also a full-time therapist. And so it was like, and a partner, right? Like poor guy, like he doesn't even get his chance. And so I was trying to like add another top three. What I really needed to do was like one micro little thing that could go towards some like the consulting side of things, right? And it's letting go of all those extras because we can't do it all. And so I remember when I first started to connect with the caregiver world, right? Because there's a new mom world, and I was in that for a while. But then, as Zach continued to get older, it was like, okay, there is more disability and delay that we're seeing, and so what spaces can I connect to and belong to? And I remember a mom had shared with me and said, um, don't try and do everything all at once, right? There's going to be a couple different places you need to navigate, and it can be really difficult to choose which one you focus on. And I always tell clients like and caregivers, make sure you make the phone calls because chances are there's a long waiting list on the other side of that. So which is stressful in itself. So being able to kind of get that ball rolling, because there's going to be windows of time where you can focus on something else, or you can focus on this, or you can focus on that, or you connect with people who have quote unquote mastered that piece of the journey, right? That have a little bit more bandwidth or are a few steps ahead of you. Zach's school has a really great like parent student association or PTA team. And so being able to connect with some of the parents of older students, and even graduates, and being able to say, how did you navigate this, right? What are some resources? What are some trustworthy organizations that you found have been helpful for you? Oh, you have a bathroom remodification. What can I see pictures of it, right? And so being able to really understand, those that are caring for aging parents, right? If you are looking for assisted living facilities or long-term care, it's, who do we trust, right? Because not everything is built the same. And parents really are one of the best resources around. Yeah. that I see that, right? Our brain is on overload. I know I felt that, especially even with the snow days that we've had. It was, still moving some meetings that I had to move, and navigating, and then, caring for him, and taking worrying about the snow, and navigating what that looked like. And it's just, you just feel, that your world just gets shaken up, right? And so we have to kind of force that dust to settle a little bit and allow ourselves, right? Allow ourselves, like, okay, what can we simplify? What can we, bare bones, bare minimum, what does that look like? And sometimes caregivers will tell me that they feel guilty, right? Or I, even to this day, Zach goes therapeutic riding. He does an adaptive Pop Warner football team that he absolutely loves. He loves therapeutic riding. I try and take him to swim class, and I still sometimes have those thoughts of, I don't think I'm doing enough for him, and it it blows my mind, right? But I think we will always have those doubts and those questions. And if you've ever felt that way before, I would love to see reactions. And because I share that, I share all of these different pieces of my journey because I want you to know that you're not alone. And so it's questioning, right? And so if we are questioning if we're doing enough, and when we strip away down to those bare bones, it doesn't have to be forever. But it just, even just for these moments, right? What can I do? Again, my mom's going to be in recovery at minimum 6 to 8 weeks, but I know, she shouldn't be lifting him anymore. He's 100+ pounds now. And so I know that that has to shift, and I don't want her to feel guilty about it. I don't feel guilty about it. And so, but it's like, okay, we have to use the some of the resources that we have available to us. We have to switch up the things that we're doing. And some of it's by choice and some of it's not. And it's being able to accept that and being okay with that. I hope all of that makes sense so far. Okay. So some of the extras that I feel comfortable letting go of, when it's football seasons, it's only September and October, and we're in Middlesex County, but it's in Warren, so it's about a 45-minute drive. And so there's times where we don't always make it to practice. There's times where we don't, and I it's okay, right? I would, again, it's one of those things that essentially is non-essential. It's also trying to kind of have routines. So Zach right now isn't walking yet, and is completely dependent on us, from getting his diaper changed all the way up to dressing himself, feeding himself, brushing his teeth and his hair. And so it's kind of and that's part of where I think we have been kind of reaching our limits of trying to do a lot of the hand over hand for him, and getting him in to learn how to do some of those skills independently. And we also are starting to incorporate an eye gaze AAC, so the communication device using his eyes. It's really cool, and he loves to say the word pizza, even though we don't really give him dairy. But he loves to say the word pizza, and I think the tracker says he said it like 179 times, and I'm not kidding. So, but there's a lot of songs about pizza that I think he really loves. So I think that's how he like makes the recognition of the word. But it sometimes for us looks like alternating things. So at minimum, he's always being put into his leg braces, but he kind of outgrew his stander. Right now, the gait trainer is in the garage, and so is his adaptive bike. And so it's we can't really take him out for the bike right now. So that's an extra right now for us. Um, Sometimes he's got curly hair, and so sometimes it's massive and untamed, and he looks like a wild child. And other days he looks like he is ready for his photo shoot, right? Where he's got his curls all, tight and ready and good looking. And so it sometimes I just run out of time, or I just don't have the bandwidth. And it's and I feel bad because those are in retrospect basic needs, but it's not going to be the end of the day if he goes to school with wild hair, right? It's not going to be the end of the day if he doesn't get a bath that night, right? Because as much we're blessed, we were able to get a home remodification, so now we have a roll-in shower, but it took a 10-step process and made it 8 steps. It's still a lot, right? And I use that figuratively, but it's still. I'm still, if anyone has suggestions on how to properly wipe, their behind, in the shower while they're sitting in a shower chair, please let me know if how I can do that better. And those are some of the conversations that I'm having on our podcast, is really talking about, like, okay, what does that look like, right? Like, what is the reality behind it? And leading some of those conversations of, I run a peer support, a monthly peer support group for caregivers, and but it's getting into those logistics, right? It's getting into of a way of, like, how have you found a way to make this easier for yourself? And so that's where connecting with other caregivers is so important, because we're able to talk about that. We're able to understand, like, oh, I found that it's really helpful. And again, every loved one is going to be different. Every journey is different, but it can give us some ideas. It can give us some different alternatives to try. We use a compression sheet for sleep versus a weighted blanket, or using he has a regular blanket too, but he always kicks them off. So the compression sheet we found has helped. And so being able to let go, and it's kind of saying, what are some of the things that I can let go for now, even if it's for a day, for the hour, if it's letting go for that month and then resuming, right? Finding different ways. I think identifying for yourself what's the biggest thing that's weighing you down, the biggest thing that's burning you out and stressing you out, and what can we do about it? And that kind of brings us to our next. So remember, SOS. So we've got optimize. What are some of those things that we can optimize to make our routines a little bit more sustainable and a little bit more practical? And this can be, hey, we carried Zach up. He used to be where I'm sitting right now, which I've turned into my office. Used to be his bedroom, and so we were carrying him up until he was about 65, 70 pounds, and so that got to be too much, and so we were able to move him down to the first floor. And that's where that's pretty much, we only have one bathroom, but the bathroom is there, the kitchen, the living room, the main entrance to the house is there. And so now he doesn't ever really make it upstairs anymore, especially now that he's 100 pounds. It just is no longer safe for anybody involved. And so if we had to, we would, but we don't have to anymore. And so we were able to make that choice. But before that, I used to find myself by like 7 a.m., I have run up and down these stairs at least 10 times. Again, type B. Remember I said that? So that means Lena does not do a great job at, like, prepping everything the night before. Lena does not do a great job at laying out my clothes, laying out Zachary's clothes, packing his book bag. This child leaves the house every single day with 3 bags. He's got the backpack for school that has his lunchbox, which fortunately, Dad is the one. School used to compliment me on all his lunches. I said, that's Dad. That is Dad. And I'm grateful for Dad. um, but it's got his lunchbox, his backpack, his notebook. I try and now fill out the notebook the night before, and then just like add a little bit last minute, in the morning, of whether he had a BM or, what he had for breakfast or whatever. But it's like, where are those things that I can save time or save a little bit of stress? I would then, like, have to run back upstairs because I forgot my watch on the charger, or I forgot if I put my glasses on that morning or not. Again, and then I would, like, turn around and I'm like, oh my God, why am I so exhausted? Because every little thing for our loved one is a task, right? Or at least that's how my nervous system and my brain processes it. It's not just one task of get ready for school or get ready for work. It's okay, get him out of bed, change the diaper, change his clothes, brush his teeth, brush his hair, feed him, cook the breakfast. Again, even with the supports of his dad making breakfast and giving me my espresso, it's still a lot. And so I had to turn around and look and be like, okay, what can I be doing differently? So that looks like writing in the notebook, then we get, I love it. We get like a little handwritten note every day from his teacher about how he did, and we read it out loud. We make it a whole thing. And that's again one of our simple joys that we look forward to when he does come home from school, and he loves to read it because dad reads it in a really funny voice. But it allows us to, again, it was just a way of like, okay, can I fill out the notebook the night before because I'm rushing to do it in the morning, excuse me, and I want to take a little bit more time. Can I make sure now his AFOs are always out and by the door and accessible? Having his clothes are not a problem. Again, a lot of it shifted when he was on the first floor, but now if my bladder can hold it, I try and also get myself ready and dressed. I like to go to CrossFit at the 9:30 a.m. class up in Kenilworth because it makes it. I do the school drop off and I keep it moving, and it's been the way that I've been able to be the most consistent with being able to work out, and it has now shifted from just like something really cool and empowering that I was doing for myself, but became a non-negotiable so that I can continue to lift Zach. And so being able to really understand, again, what are those things that we can tweak? Is it making sure everything is ready to go the night before? Is it, putting things in the car that is non-essential for the evening part of it. If they go on a bus or if they take public transportation, things like Access Link. Perhaps it's, finding a day program for your adult child, or your parent to go to, so that there's socialization and there's a little bit more breathing room for yourselves. It's just finding those things, right? It's finding those different pieces. So take a look at what you're doing. It always stuck with me. When we had early intervention, they had talked about we needed to improve Zach's sleep routine and sleep hygiene. And I said, yeah. And they were like, he should be in bed and asleep by 7 o'clock at night. They didn't stop to bother to ask that, oh, you have a stepdaughter who does competitive cheer and you're not home until 9 o'clock at night most nights. And so, but they're telling me what I should be doing. And it's like, okay, yes, should that be the thing? Is that the recommendation? Absolutely. But you tell me, how do I make that possible? And so it's finding what's within reach for yourself right now, for the next month, for the next 3 months. What is something that you can do? In my private practice, I feel like I'm always changing my hours of schedule based off of what Zach needs and based off of my own bandwidth, based on, like, okay, I don't want to work as many nights as I used to because I want to be able to show up for Zach, or I want Tuesdays and Thursdays are off limits most of the time because that's when football practices are. Right now he started a music class. It's so cute. This is when I take him to music. That's when we have a special needs swim class, or swim program. And so it's being able to put in some of those barriers where we can. If you're working but don't have as much flexibility in your work schedule, what else can we do, right? Where else can we find that time to just optimize and to really take control, right? Because there's so many things that are outside of our control. And we always say, right, if we could just wave this magic wand, what would that look like? But it's, what is the most challenging thing? Going back to simplifying, right? We let go of the things that are just like, this is nice. I would love if in my perfect world, he would be on a vibration plate every morning. He would be standing for another 10 minutes. He will be doing, spending 30 minutes working on feeding himself, right? Putting a shirt on himself, right? All those different pieces, but it's picking one. Can I do a vibration plate for 10 minutes with him on Mondays? And then on Wednesdays, maybe I work on self-feeding, right? Or maybe I save that for the weekends because we have a little bit more time. So it's finding those different things and finding a routine that works for you and works for your loved one. And we're human. So there's times where I don't feel like it. Or he puts up a complete fight where he's just whiny, and that was part, I think he was very bored because we were also working. And so there's a lot of guilt of like plopping him in front of the TV and getting him to just watch a show. And that's why I'm focusing a lot on trying to get some sort of in-home support for him, so that it does help reduce a little bit of that guilt. But at this, or it's either get the in-home support or really fight for PPP, because then I have a little bit less pressure to make sure that I maintain my income the way that I am. And again, it's not a ton, but navigating, so that I can show up for those extra couple of hours that I'm really spending right now working, to make ends meet. And so finding those ways. So I have to focus on those two battles right now. Okay. And for those that don't know what PPP is, it's the personal preference program. If through Medicaid, there we're able to receive that. And so that's a whole other journey. So we can talk about that in a whole other chat, on navigating the different systems, because I feel like we've been exposed to it. So again, thinking of some of those things that we're already doing. So does anything come to mind for anybody for what they would want to simplify or what they would want to optimize? We'll kind of share there too. Oh, I like what Carrie said. We have an index card with a list of what to be sure uh to be sure was done before my brother gets on the bus to his adult day program every morning, and it helps. I'm telling you, I always joke and I'm like, I think that I could benefit from ABA and like, okay, do this and this and this and this, because you can see now in the past hour how many different topics did I switch over to, but it's because the mind is constantly going. And again, this was me pre-child, pre-motherhood, pre-disability world, pre-whatever. I was always like, in multiple places. And so now I'm just in 10 times more places. But it feels like everything is aligning. So I'm just continuing to remind myself of that. But yes, creating visuals for ourselves. Okay. And that's support, right? So support can be in the form of visuals. It can be in the form of reminders and timers and this, that, and the third. It can be asking for help. Asking for help is so hard for so many of us. And one of the biggest things that I have learned to reframe is when somebody asks, do I need help? Because the real raw answer is like, yeah, can you lift my 100-pound son out of the chair, out of the car? Can you put our three-piece wheelchair together with the three-piece? Oh, I didn't even finish telling you. So he's got the backpack with the lunchbox. He's got the eye gaze backpack and the poles to mount the eye gaze, right? So that is 3 bags just for him alone. I have my work backpack, depending on what I'm doing that day, a lunchbox. If I'm not going to go out and buy lunch because it's easier, right? It's like that. Let's simplify. Um, and probably a purse or some other random gadget of mine. So it's like 6 bags just to leave the gym bag, right? Like 6 bags just to walk out the door at really any given moment, especially on a work day and a school day. And so it's figuring out, and so, right, if someone's asking me for help, it's like, yeah, can you assemble his wheelchair that it's 3 separate pieces. We got the cushion, the back, and the foldable piece of it. Can you lift him out of the car? And they like, no, I know you don't know how to do the wheelchair. I know you're not able to lift him. So it's like, and so instead of getting almost like petty, right, and like angry, or doing the knee jerk response that I used to do of like, no thanks, I got it. I say, sure, what did you have in mind? Right. And it gives them kind of opportunity to stop and think like, well, how can I really help them? And also creating space to like create conversation around it. Create opportunity to be able to say like, sure, like what are you able to help me with, right? Clearly you see that I need help, right? So what came to mind for you to think about? And so, but it can be so hard for us to ask for help. Even my partner is he's downstairs, hanging out with Zach. Zach he's quiet now, so he may have fallen asleep. But before this, he was fussing and he was making sure he was fed for dinner and making sure that he was taken care of. And I know he's got me, and he knows that he's supportive to this and so excited, and he's helping back end on the podcast and everything. But I sometimes still feel guilty. And I'm like, babe, do you mind? And do you, he's like, what? I'm his parent too. And so that's a really great breath of fresh air. And I know oftentimes I don't have the actual statistics, but it's a really high rate of divorce and separation for families with kids with disabilities, because there's a lot of stressors, and we're constantly pulled in all of these different directions. We didn't sign up for this life, but this is the life that we're handed. And so we can either stay in that, we can stay in all those frustrations and resentments, or we can rise above. We can find that resilience and hold ourselves to it. So, but we can't do it alone. And so again, that support. And so building those circles, I felt like I was tired. I still feel like I'm tired, but I was tired of driving to all these different places. We drive an hour each way. So it's a 2 hour drive. Um, for a half-hour therapeutic riding lesson. He loves it. We love it. And it's worth it. But there are days where I'm like, I don't want to drive that. But we still do it. We're grateful. We love the center that we go to. But and then for, like I said, with football, it's about a 45-minute, 50-minute drive for an hour practice. He gets so excited, and seeing his joy makes it all worth it. The nighttime swim, the program doesn't start until about 6 o'clock at night. It's cold, it's dark, so I'm opting to not take him right now. But towards the warmer weather, I like to bring him. Why? Because I like to. It helps me think of working on his gross motor, his bigger body motor of doing hands and knees and working on standing and taking some steps in the pool, because the water takes away a lot of his weight. And so then he's able to understand a little bit more of those patterns. And so if y'all ever want to come hang out and swim, I would love extra hands. And so that's part of it, right? And so it's finding those villages. And so that's a big reason why I first started with a Facebook group called Central Jersey Special Needs Community, because I wanted to find, and it's kind of expanded to where people are located. But I'm hoping that as I continue to move forward now, I want to have more events for the community that are more central. I run my monthly in-person peer support group. That's in Avenel, which is in Middlesex County at the Greenway Family Success Center. And so it's being able to, I wanted him to, he loves music. He can clap to bingo. He hums jingle bells. So I wanted to nurture that. I wanted to find a thing that was close and local. So we go to a music teacher that is right in Fords, right in Woodbridge Township. And so because I wanted something close, I wanted something accessible. And so because there's not a lot of time after he goes to school, and we're blessed, we are blessed, because I know there are so many people that drive so far to go to school. Because I know our school is, and again, this isn't I'm not mentioning schools, but it's just we're just so relieved that it is close to us. And the irony is, I think if he were to stay in district, I think that it would either be equidistant, or it would be even a little bit further away or more complicated to get to in the morning for the school traffic. So, but we're grateful that school is close. But he comes home from school, he is wiped out. They work these kids out to the nth degree. And so then there's also that piece of like, I want all these things for him. I want him to have some of these resources available to him at night, but does he even have the capacity and bandwidth? The last person that came to us was trying to come here at 5 o'clock at night. I said he's going to be asleep by like 6:30. And we're supposed to get 10 hours a week in support. So when are we going to do these? I need the support from 3 o'clock when he's getting off the bus to about 6:30. And so to work on all of these things, because when we're going through all those like daily activities, I then don't have energy to play, right? I don't have that bandwidth to, and oftentimes that's that. I guess as I'm talking, I feel like I'm rambling, but I hope I'm making sense. But the thing that I often choose to let go is playing with toys. It's a non-essential for us right now. He loves singing, he loves laughing, he loves just that one-on-one connection. And so honestly, that's what we let go the most. And that's one that I do feel guilty about. He has fantastic toys. I try and find things that are accessible to him so he can play, but he is content. He is happy. He loves his shows. He watches a lot of the like preschool. We have the whole, if you need new teachers to watch, I got you. Okay? We've got a whole list. Um but but he's learning also, right? Our kids, our loved ones, they learn differently, they engage differently. Aging parents, getting them color by numbers, getting them word searches. It may feel childish, but it's helping to nurture their mind, right? It's helping to keep them engaged, keep them safe, keep them busy so that they don't get into trouble. And so, um, yeah. So, but that was why I built my Facebook group, because I just wanted something that was a little bit more central. There are a couple more groups that are more statewide, and I'm part of them too. And but I wanted home, right? I wanted here. Um, and so because I was tired of driving, I was tired of we've done the swim, and it was a 4:30 swim class up in Union, and so you're at one of the hospitals, and so it's like not it, I was beating rush hour traffic. You're rushing to get him home from school, fed, changed, and brought to swim in time. Like my nervous system was like, I can't handle that right now. And so being able to find what works realistically, and if there's something, and then you also make sacrifices because it's something that they have to do or want to do, and you enjoy doing also. And so these networks your support can be friends and family. It can be, and sometimes friends and family don't know how to support us, or the support almost comes at a cost, right? It comes with a lot of, what do I want to say? I can't think of the word right now. It's like that, I'll do this, but again, it just comes at a cost, right? It comes at like, there's more of an expense, there's more of a stressor than there is the help. And so even the shift, I will say, like even the shift, as much as I'm grateful for my mom, the bus used to take him to my mom's house. She lives right in our town. Again, grateful for that too. She's 5 minutes, but at 6 o'clock at night, 7 o'clock at night, when I'm wrapping up my sessions for the night, um, then having to like get up and leave and go get him and bring him back. Again, we're unfolding the wheelchair twice because we're folding it to put it 3 pieces, putting it into the car, then driving the 5 minutes, taking him out of the car, unfolding the wheelchair 3 pieces, and coming into the house. I'm tired. And it's also disruptive because 9 times out of 10 he's already asleep, and so it was also disruptive to that. So, but I also know she was helping us by even watching him, so it and making sure he was well cared for. But it has been a great break to my nervous system and his nervous system to have him come home straight from school here because he's not disrupted. So it's just finding different things. It's finding treatment teams that work. You can have really nice people, but if they're not doing what your loved one needs or what you need, it's okay to look elsewhere. It's okay you can feel guilty about it, or you can still have that a cordial relationship, but it's not, you got to move on at some point, right? And I think that that's what I learned when I was originally trying to take that different approach of be understanding that we're overworked, underpaid, and overwhelmed, but the systems have drastically changed from before the pandemic to now. The resources just don't, they're not at the same level or capacity that they once were. And so, again, don't be afraid to change treatment teams. And then also finding community organizations that are helpful and that really welcome your loved one, really give you that peace of mind. If our school ran, a camp, if they ran, evening supports and this, that, and third, if we sign us up for every single piece of it, because we know how, I don't even know, I know his direct staff and his treatment team, but there are staff at his school that I don't know what their role is at the school. I know they belong there, but beyond that, I don't know their name. I don't know, are they a teacher? Are they an aide? Are they a therapist? But they know Zach. They know Zach by name. They sing jingle bells to him. He has, I call them like umbrella words. They'll be like, uh-oh, go, go, go. Like they know Zach. And so nothing warms my heart more than when people know our loved ones, because we know that they're caring for them as if they were their own. And that's what we want. That's what allows part of our nervous system to rest. And we can't find out what those systems are unless we participate in them, or we use our community to find those resources we can trust. Our next journey is setting up a special needs trust, because I'm having a hard time. I haven't really sat down and made the calls to consult with a couple of them, but I don't want to be taken advantage of. And so if you again have recommendations of who you have used for special needs trust, I would love to know. But and so those are those pieces. I want to know firsthand experience, who's good, who you can go with, and what that looks like. So thinking about who in your life, who are key people in your support network, and how do they help manage your caregiving responsibilities. And that can even be, it can be hired services too. It can be, you know, is it yes, they're expensive, but is it a meal prep service that just helps you take something off of your plate so that you can show up for something that you want to do, or you can show up for yourself, right? Because I know we're already showing up for our loved one regardless of whether we want to or not. So you wouldn't be here, I think, if you weren't. So um those are my thoughts. Okay. So I would love to hear who is in your support group or in your support network. And listen, about my peer support group, we are fun. It's primarily for parents of kids with disabilities. Again, any caregivers welcome, but that's primarily who's there, and of all ages. But we're real, we're raw. I feel like we cackle 9 times out of 10. But it's just a good time. It's just a good time. And so I don't think the March one is out, but if you follow all my socials and stuff, you'll find them and see them. And keep an eye on the Greenway Family Success Center but I'll have a slide towards the end of this that will have like what you can see for the flyer. Okay. Um, so seeking help, right? Recognizing when you need the help. So that can be emotional support. So again, building those connections with others who understand your experiences. It's the resource sharing, accessing valuable information and the resources with the community members. It's all things that we've been talking about, right? And again, that I think I love my brain. I can't change my brain, but I love my brain because I feel like I've been able to hopefully inspire and touch on at least something of your journey today, right? No matter what you're looking for. And then the feeling of belonging, reducing those feelings of isolation by being a part of a community. It is so, I'm the first one. We have a group chat for some of our moms at school, because so today, even I'm not a medical mom in the capacity where she was saying like something with a button. So whether it was a G tube, I'm assuming a G tube. But the mom was able to ask like, oh my gosh, like this, I was having a hard time taking it out. Then it started to bleed. And then, then it was hard to put the new one back in. And like 3, 4 moms that also have had lived experience of dealing with the buttons, was able to like offer support, right? Was able to, but she could have sat in that, and I know she would have sat in that guilt for so long by herself. She still feels guilty that, that her child looked uncomfortable, but it it was normalized. It was made a little bit okay. We gave her that soft place to land, and kind of gave her that virtual hug. And so because again, they were like, "Oh my God, girl, I did that too, right? Like I did. Don't worry, I accidentally, pulled it out, and it really went everywhere. It's being able to say like you're not alone. Even in the chat, a couple people were saying we use an eye gaze AAC. Like that's awesome because not a lot of our friends do. So it's just so cool. We had a joint birthday party with Zach and one of his friends, and one of the other moms said her daughter's I think like 12, 13, and she's like, this is the first birthday party we've been invited to. Like, no, you know, this is our community. This is our community. So that's why on the podcast, yeah, we're going to talk about poop. We're going to talk about how do you realistically wash their bodies, when they're not so pretty, when they're getting bigger, when they're heavier, when they're, messier. How do we, just all of the pieces, right? Talking about hormones. I had to ask his endocrinologist. I was like, I'm embarrassed to ask this, but like, what does puberty look like in a boy? Because he's not really verbal with his voice. So, like, I know traditionally, right? Like, his voice would start to crack and, this, that, the acne and this, that, and the third. And I'm like, he's still like an infant in my mind, right? Like, he's still like my little guy. And so it's like, but then periods, right? Like for my girls. And so it's like, how do we, but I can connect you with someone else whose child started, getting periods and this, that, and the third. And, someone whose parent just got diagnosed with dementia and Alzheimer's and who's been a little bit further along, right? And so being able to find those connections so that, and if I'm the one that has to kind of help voice that question in the community or make that connection, it's an honor to do so. And then opportunities for advocacy. I was just recently interviewed by someone and to talk about like mental health in schools, and then he's doing a whole research report that's also connecting to a larger report for the state about how they can improve our services. And so, but I was so frustrated yesterday about, not being heard and feeling like I've been lied to and just being disregarded. And I was like, I just need to tell you this. I said, I know you're probably tired of hearing from me, but I also just like, I feel like I can take these frustrations and vent to them, and but you can do something about it, right? Like you can take it to that next step, because I'm not the one who, I'm in a webinar for one of the other organizations that's talking about like the state Medicaid reforms and all the things for there's a Medicaid waiver that was supposed to be from like September 2024, and they're like, we need your voices. And I'm at like 48 minutes of that replay. I'm like, do you have templates for us? Like, you make it easy for us to advocate, make it easy for us to be heard. And so again, trying to find ways for us to be able to do that too. So but it's ways to engage in those advocacy efforts. I had the honor and privilege of speaking to partnering with NJASEPs and talked a little bit more about our caregiver journey and the importance of why it's so important to continue to support private schools and private education for our children, because this is home for us. This is where our children belong. And there's a time and place for the regular the I can't even think of what it's called now. But right when they still stay in district, but oftentimes schools will just try and push for that in district placement, regardless if it's a suits your family's needs or not, right? And so, or denying or cutting hours for both adults and for children. So, finding opportunities for advocacy. We'll be at the Make-A-Wish Castle. We're celebrating the Rare Disease Day. I just had the privilege of interviewing her on my podcast. That episode just happened yesterday, but I had the privilege of being able to go to the Rare Disease Make-A-Wish Castle. Well, sorry, Rare Rare Disease Day is always the last day of February. It's actually going to be on February 27th this year. It's being celebrated there. So it's really great opportunities. It's great networking. Going to resource fairs. We wanted to go last Sunday to a local resource fair for us, but I was just tired and then I was stressed out about the snow. So I was like, okay, I really want to go, but right now it's just not in the cards for me. And so it's being able to know that we're okay. The Abilities Expo is another great place for us to connect. I do 10,000 plus steps every single day, and it's a 3-day conference. It's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I go all 3 days. I have a purpose for all 3 days, and I do, like I said, 10,000 plus steps every single time because, and if you went there last year, Zachary got his adaptive tricycle at the expo last year. So, and that takes place in Raritan Center. So, it's just really great resources to connect. So feel free to reach out. Feel free, just know that you're not alone. So if you ever see any of these 3 things, know that these are me. Know that you see that the Caregiver Reset, so that's a podcast. Right now it's just on YouTube. We are looking for it to also go on Spotify and Apple. So that's coming down the pipeline. And then I'm always welcome to having guests. So if you want to be a guest, please feel free. You don't have to be a parent to a child with disabilities. It can be as a caregiver being in the sandwich generation. It can be caring for your spouse. It can really anything related to being a caregiver. You can be a helping professional in the caregiver space. So you are welcomed. And again, even if you're not a caregiver or your friends aren't a caregiver, share with them too, because really we're just talking about burnout and how we get through it, right? And how we can kind of reset it. Then my Facebook group, we have Central Jersey Special Needs Community. Together, we're bringing back the village, right? It always says it takes a village for support, but we're bringing it back, okay? So don't be afraid to ask questions. You can even message me if you want and ask questions that way. And then this is what the logo lately has been, or the flyer piece has been looking like. So that actually it also might be, I think they've switched it actually to Courageous Caregivers support circle, but through the Family Success Center. So that I'm trying to run it the first Wednesday of every month from about 12 to 2. And again, that takes place in Avenel, but all of these will be shared again just across all my social medias. Okay. And so I don't know if this will play well or if the audio will cut out. So let me know if you can hear it. Reset your life. Okay, and so that's the remember to reset your life. It is your time to shine as caregivers and most importantly, as a human. So, again, the caregiver reset, both on YouTube, Instagram, and then this little, oh, hello. No, go away. What's happening? Okay. This little QR code is it's going to link to a Google form of peer support, just as a way for just let me know a little bit more about your caregiver journey and how I can be a support to you, how one of my extensions of community can be a support to you. And I just appreciate every single one of you.
Well, thank you so much, Lena. That was wonderful. And you made it very interactive. So there, a lot of the questions you already answered that were in the chat. So we don't really, I mean, I don't know if anyone else has any other questions. I can tell you that in a couple of days on both websites, the archive recording of this will be there. In addition to, we will share this slide deck. So just in case you wanted to keep it or use it as a reminder for yourself of all the things that she went over, that will also be posted on the two websites. You will get an email once it's posted so you can know that it's there and ready to go.
Y'all
Anyone
have
have
been
any,
great.
have anyone have anything else? No? Well, Lena, thank you very much. Thank you for sharing your expertise and your personal journey. I think it helps everyone who cares for an individual with a disability know that it's okay to reset and it's okay to have these feelings. And I think one of our viewers, Joanne, said it's good to, get it out there, the good, the bad, the ugly. We all have emotions. And I
Hmm.
appreciate everything that you've done tonight and giving us your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. It really has been an honor. I really hope to connect with every single one of you, even if it's, just a hey but just really you're not alone. So if it's not my communities, it's other communities, make sure you connect. Okay? Because again, we can't do it. We can't do it by ourselves. So thank you so much, everyone. I really, really appreciate it.
Terrific. Thank you so much, Lena. And just as a
You're
reminder, we have one more webinar coming up in March. So please go and register for it. It's going to be wonderful and just more resources for you. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
Bye. Thank you.